Thank you very much. I'm now speaking to the organizers of the event for inviting me and to have an opportunity to present what not only me, but the whole FBE New Technology Commission prepared in the sphere of, or in the topic of the use of AI by legal professionals. I believe that at least for some of you, maybe even all of you, the organization, so European Space Federation, is a new entity. So I will start with saying only 2 words who we are. FBE is over 30 years old organization that was established in order to support legal professionals from all countries that are members of the Council of Europe. So we are quite a big organization which is open to bar associations, not individual legal professionals, but bar associations. And now we've got over 200 members from all around Europe, and we represent more than 1 million lawyers. And we work in parallel commissions. One of them is the New Technology Commission that I have a privilege being a president of. And one of our initiatives focused on supporting legal professionals in the world full of technology are the guidelines that I'm going to speak a little bit more about today. So the first question to answer is why we decided to focus on the use of generative AI by legal professionals. The reason is that we put quite a lot of energy in being up to date with the technological advancement and the impact of this advancement on the way we serve our clients and we deliver legal services, but in a much broader sense to what is done within the judicial sphere. The landscape is evolving very fast, and we started with just sharing knowledge and some materials with our members, but to some point we saw that it is not enough. Even the language that we used was, I would say, inside the IT bubble, and it was not understandable by a lay lawyer somewhere in Europe. So we then started to think how we can actually reach an average European lawyer that is quite aware that, I don't know, ChatGPT is released and it can be a tool in his or her hands while delivering legal services. And to be quite honest, because I was the person initiating this specific project, which are our guidelines, early missteps in the use of generative AI by lawyers was a trigger for us to start producing something very simple that we hope that it will be understandable and will reach as many lawyers as possible, which now we know that was quite a good idea how to deal with this issue. So early missteps and the rise of generative artificial intelligence tools that are precisely devoted to legal professionals were one of the most important reasons why we decided to start our project that end up in guidelines. So just a spoiler, the first edition of guidelines, FBE guidelines on the use of AI by European lawyers, was released in June 2023. So it was 6 months after the release of ChatGPT, and we then witnessed the first examples how lawyers used these tools in a way that we would rather not have within the legal services. And obviously there are now plenty of these examples, but I believe one of the most well debated and that has the biggest impact on even media was the example from May 2023 from New York, when Stephen Schwartz, an attorney, New York State attorney, was used ChatGPT in order to produce a pleading during the court proceedings, and it was presented by the court, and the judge was the one who found out that, and the other party as well, was the one that found out that some of the case law were just made up, and the lawyer admitted that it was his fault, maybe not his fault, but the reason of that was that the document was generated and he did not verify whether the existence of the case law that it was cited. The effect for this specific lawyer and his law firm was fine. He was punished by court because of it, but then we saw that we can anticipate that in Europe some similar cases may occur very soon, and we can do something to prevent it, to have the quality of legal profession and the quality of legal services that would be more important than speed of delivering effects of our job to our clients. And as I said, guidelines, the first edition of the guidelines were released in June 2023, so 1 month after Stephen Schwartz was highly or deeply described within media globally, I would say. Yeah, we had a multiple discussion how to address these topics and how to pass some knowledge, which is AI related, which is not very common for lawyers to understand the specific even terminology that is associated with this topic, at the same time that it would give some value to the reader. So we decided to have very small, very short report, which consisted, I don't know, 20 pages long, not longer, and to keep it as simple as possible. And we proposed 7 guidelines, of the very general nature, I would say, for lawyers to follow. Because we saw the lack of proper regulation on legislative level and on the level of internal regulation within national or local bar association, I mean, codes of ethics and such documents. There was a lack of proper attempt to address such problems. So I am not quite sure, but I can suspect that these documents was one of the very first documents that addressed this issue within the legal community, European one. And we added some terminology clarification within the document, and we end up with a call to action for different stakeholders to join the effort in creating secure and responsible methods for applying generative AI in the legal sphere. And we were then quite surprised of the effect we created and the interest that the guidelines created within the legal community. We gained thousands of downloads, probably because of the fact that we were the very first of among different organizations that then started to producing similar or different in scope documents, but is trying to address these issues of the use of AI by legal professionals. And what was one of the key to this more or less success was that we did not stop at having an English version of this document, but then we started to translate this document into national languages. That way we reached this lay persons, regular lawyers that do not follow international networks, do not follow documents that are released in English or in a language that is not their national language. And we've translated the guidelines into Italian, Polish, Spanish, German, and Turkish, then into Portuguese as well. But it is quite understandable that, and we've even anticipated it, that it was the state of the art was June 2023, and that days there were only, I don't know, ChatGPT, Google's Bard, and probably Microsoft Copilot available on the market. And we anticipated that first of all, the general purpose AI chatbot there will be more and more of them, but also we will witness the development of a very legal specific generative AI tools that will be designed for legal professionals. Back then, there were some attempts, but taking into account how quite an effort need to be put in order to produce a good legal generative AI solution, the market was empty in this regard. But because time flies, and during upcoming months, we saw many examples of the misuse of generative AI by lawyers. This is the example from this Meta and Avianca case from Siemens Schwartz, but we also witnessed that the parties to the proceedings started to use ChatGPT in a way that we would rather we would wish not to have at trials, then also judges. So we saw the great impact of the generative AI tools, but not this legal specific, but this very general purpose chatbots that are not just suitable for different legal purposes, or they can be, but if it's done in a right way. So then, as I said, there was a rise and the development of legal generative AI tools. Major providers of legal tools started to develop their own solution based on large language models. LexisNexis, Westlaw, even smaller companies from different jurisdictions. And we started to follow not only the possibilities that are the things that can be done just thanks to the use of these tools, but also whether there are still or can be reliable, or if there are some attempts to, I don't know, at least limit the scope of hallucinations and so on and so forth, whether there are some RAG solution added to those very generic large language models based solution and so on and so forth. And we discovered that at the end, when you are a user of such solution, you are still quite unaware whether you can whether the result generated by the model can be used at the end. Although the legal market, the legal IT market changed because of the technological development, the rules that need to be attached to the use of such tools remain more or less the same. And why we...
Maria, sorry to disturb you. You have 3 minutes left.
Okay, I will speed as much as possible. Why we thought that it is important to develop further our project is that during the course of action, obviously AI Act was drafted, finished, then entered into force. But more or less what legal professionals outside of the courts do with generative AI is outside of the scope of AI Act. So there is little national legislation governing legal practice or the use of technology by legal professionals, and professional codes of ethics. It is not common to address this issue in such documents. So this is the only thing. And during the course of action, we also see that multiple bodies started to develop their own guidelines, which we greatly appreciate, as the common effort needs to be put in order to secure this legal sphere from possible misuse of generative on a different level, national, international. And in September 2024, we released an extended and updated version of the guidelines, which is now only available in English, but we will translate it into national languages. And just to give you a chance to scan a QR code, this is an access to the English version of the guidelines. I do not have much time, so I will not explain one by one the rules, but what is important, we changed a little bit the original list of rules to adjust it also to the developing average level of knowledge in this field, and it is still increasing. And we also added the issue that we did not address in the first guidelines, which is the impact on intellectual property and the impact on environment. And we have changed one rule. So it was an existing rule about informing clients that we use AI. It was rather strict, and it was one of the mostly debated by us internally, but also externally with those who have got familiar with these guidelines and were implementing them in their legal practice. And we have changed this rule of informing clients to guaranteeing external and internal transparency. I do not have much time to go deeper into this, but I strongly recommend scanning the QR code or going into the link, as this expanded version of guidelines, we have added here references to legislation, as during the course of action, the actually two main pieces of legislation were adopted. It is AI Act and the Council of Europe Convention, of course, and we added some practical examples to keep it as practical for our readers as possible. So thank you very much for your attention. I am deeply sorry that I will not be able to stay longer with you today, as I have other urgent commitments, but I would be very happy to not only keep in touch, but if you have any thoughts on the guidelines or whatever I say during today's presentation, I will be happy to keep in touch and to exchange our views. Thank you very much.